Welcome to Cheltex Multimedia Live streaming from Brisbane. Well, I can't say sunny Brisbane because it's very, very wet out there. Well, on this very, very wet 23rd of March, let's see what the weather is in store for us. As we know, there's been widespread flooding throughout the country, and of course keeping up with that, we will get some key messages later in the show. But right now, with the weather news, let's welcome to Dilraj.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 25 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with very high chance of showers tending to rain at times. There is a chance of thunderstorm in the evening. Light winds becoming northerly 15 to 25 km per hour. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 20 past 3 and UV index is predicted to reach 10, that is very high. Till tomorrow, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day.
And thank you very much for that update, Dilraj. It's wonderful to get that update. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, with the flood warning and everything like that, so it is very, very important that we should remain very, very safe and keep clear of those flood waters. Well, right now, looking at some of the news that's making news, a man has been convicted for choking death of Melody Bruno to be resentenced by court. A former RAAF corporal convicted of choking death of Melody Bruno is expected to be resentenced next week. That is what's going to happen. So we will see how that unfolds. And Morrison government fights back. T is pledging to improve treatment for women in Parliament. The Prime Minister said he is completely stunned and disgusted after it was revealed that the coalition's staffers were accused of filming and sharing sex acts in the Parliament House. And how low can people go? So, it is a very, very irreciprocal kind of act that's happened in the Parliament House. Ghislaine Maxwell offers to give up citizenship in third bid for bail. A judge rules that Ghislaine Maxwell, awaiting trial on charges that she recruited teenage girls for ex-boyfriend Jeffrey Epstein's to sexually abuse child, a flight risk. So, all that is again very, very, very disturbing news that's been coming out. Tiny little islands. Wet season floods across Western Australia's remote communities. So, this rain is widespread. It's throughout the country. Heavy wet season isolates thousands of Kimberley residents, with some communities having spent months cut off by flood waters. And right now, Victoria also announces sweeping changes to COVID-19 restrictions. Victorians will no longer need to wear a mask in supermarkets and will be able to host up to 100 people in their homes from 6 p.m. on Friday as part of a suite of eased coronavirus restrictions. And we already have enough blood outrage over dark morpho flag project. Aboriginal people across the country have voiced their fury and hate in response to an art performance calling for their blood to soak the British flag. But the art festival's creative director says it will go ahead despite admitting he is personally rattled by the response. Regardless of that, it is still going ahead. So, lifespan of Australia's longest gas pipeline slashed as renewable energy turns heat up in the fossil fuels. The company that owns Australia's longest natural gas pipeline slashes the asset's expected lifespan, saying renewable energy could make the business unviable and decades ahead of schedule. So, it was being planned that, way down the track, it could be cut off, but right now, the way things are happening, it will be cut down way sooner than it was planned. Right now, we'll be going to the interview of today and looking at that interview. as we know, protecting our irreplaceable. It is a new partnership to protect sentimental items. So, as we know that we place a lot of value on our material goods, and we always protect our material items. But what happens in case and in the when we look at all the cases, and when we look at what's happening with when we look at valuables in other places. So, when we look at valuables in other places, we always have to be mindful of what's happening in there. And of course, when we look at the many things that are happening, e-scooter riders have been stabbed in a suspected road rage incident. As we know, there's a lot of e-scooter riders out there these days as well, but why are things happening the way they are? Because many times people are taking into account that these people should not be on the road. But the fact of the matter is that everyone's got a right to be on the road. And that is what's causing a lot of problem and hangs in many people as they are opposing that these people should not be allowed on the road. And many times they cause, I have seen that in many incidents, they have taken some measures where they have not put on their helmets, and of course that also causes a lot of problem as well. Well, right now, moving on with the interview for today, we will see if we can hook up with James Fitzpatrick, who is from Allianz, and see if we can shed some light on this information and to see what's happening and where are things going on with that. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's welcome to the studio via audio link James Fitzpatrick, who is from the Allianz Group. So, once again, welcome to the show, James.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you very much for that. And right now, moving on, we'd like to know a few of the things that we have been talking about. So why is protecting irreplaceable and partnership to help protect the sentimental items? As we know, this is an area which has been filled with so many catastrophic bushfires, extreme wet weather brought by La Nina. As we know, there are floods happening at this point in time. Australians have been reflecting on what they truly value and what can't be replaced in their life. So these are many of the things that we would like to talk to you about. And so first of all, you've had that research that had been done. So, with that research, what has been your finding so far? Can you tell us about that research?
The Allianz research shows us that 95% of Australians consider their most precious sentimental items irreplaceable. These items are filled with a lifetime of memories, and while 3/4 of Australians insure their bricks and mortar, 42% don't have a plan in place to protect these items that are most dear to them.
And many times, yes, people don't do that, and it is very important that they protect what is valuable to them as well. Why is that the case, and why is it happening like that? So, my next question would be, how can people be more prepared in cases like this, and how can they be more prepared in incidents when like what's happening now happens? James.
Preparing for natural disasters is all about planning. Our research showed that over half of the nation regretted not being more prepared for natural disasters after they'd suffered a loss. People can be more prepared by doing small things around the home, like preparing an evacuation plan, having an emergency bag packed, cleaning out gutters, and making sure that home and contents insurance is up to date. And whilst home and contents insurance is really important, Allianz also understands these items around the home that have high sentimental value are just as important to safeguard in the event of damage or loss, as they can't be repaired or replaced. In an effort to help safeguard Australia's precious memories, Allianz has partnered with memories.com.au to launch Allianz Memory Safe, which is allowing 5,000 new and existing Allianz customers to create an online catalogue to document and store their most sentimental belongings.
And that is quite an effort, and I think it is a very good effort from Allianz to do that, because many times people like me, we always like to treasure our memories and keep files and other documents and do not want to get rid of them, that one day we might need them. It's got sentimental value, maybe generations to come in the forward might like to look at that. So, looking at all of that, so what's the likelihood that, people can lose their memory, precious belongings?
It is important to safeguard the items filled with memories, as these are an embodiment of individuals' heritage, their life adventures, their passions and relationships. It makes up their identity. Over time, we've heard many stories of Australians losing a lifetime of memories through incidents and national disasters. We want to help prevent this happening in future, which is why Allianz is encouraging Australians to be more proactive in documenting these items so they are safeguarded if the worst is to happen. By taking a moment to walk around the home, document the items on platforms like Allianz Memory Safe, Australians can have some peace of mind that they are not lost forever and they have a digital copy of their memories.
Well, as you mentioned, a digital copy of their memory, and it is, as you have mentioned, that people should be walking around the house, making notes of each and everything which is everywhere. It's like taking an inventory, and many times, painful as it may be, in the long term, it pays. And especially when you're claiming anything for insurance, unless it's all there documented, the inventory, if that is not complete, then of course we know that you'd have a tough job trying to be compensated for that at all. Well, right now, if the people need more information, because in this interview we can only do so much. So but it is wonderful that you've spared some time. As we know, this is a busy time with all the floods and everything happening. James, really appreciate your time here. But can you tell us, where can Australians go for more information?
With Easter holidays upon us and families taking time off for school holidays, now's the perfect time for the whole family to think about the items around the house that are most dear to them and you don't usually give much thought to protecting. For more information about the service and how to safeguard these items, head to allianz.com.au/memorysafe.
So that is the site, and it would be wonderful that if you can all go and do that, and it's a wonderful service that's been provided by Allianz. So ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking with James Fitzpatrick from Allianz. James, thank you so much for being on the show.
Lovely talking to you.
So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, and that was from Allianz and James Fitzpatrick, and it was wonderful to have him on the show to talk about all the things. And right now we'll be moving on, and let's take a look at a message from our sponsors.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
and real estate is the world. And don't forget that tomorrow we'll bring to you a real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty right here in this studio. Well, right now, let's go and join our Prime Minister with his message during this time.
First of all, though, let me address the very serious situation that is being confronted by Australians in New South Wales, but also in southeast Queensland and increasingly in other states. I'm advised that the rain and flood situation does remain dynamic and extremely complex. This is a complex weather event and becoming more complex. 100 millimetres of rain is forecast across saturated catchments today. Flood and severe weather warnings have been issued across the country, extending from southeast Queensland to the Victorian border. A trough on the east coast has merged with a trough extending from the Kimberleys to the east coast, causing heavy rain and inland flooding. This is moving to being not just a coastal event. Severe weather, high winds, damaging surf and heavy rain is forecast for the east coast today, and the system is causing heavy rain from Batemans Bay to the Victorian border as this storm moves south. The system is expected to ease by late Wednesday, but the floodwaters remain persistent for some time. Western New South Wales, North Eastern South Australia, South Western Queensland and Eastern Western Australia have been affected by inland flooding. Brisbane and the Gold Coast have been impacted by heavy rain, and that is causing flash flooding. In terms of the response, 1,700 SES volunteers are responding to this event, supported by the New South Wales Rural Fire Service and Fire and Rescue Services. 18,000 people have been impacted by evacuation orders, 16 evacuation orders for 24 locations, 20 further evacuation warnings with 18 evacuation centres operating. I do note that particularly those evacuation centres in the Sydney metropolitan area have not been used to the extent that New South Wales authorities thought they may. People have largely gone to be supported by people in their homes, and the evacuation process in New South Wales and support for those individuals has been working extremely well, and I commend both those who are directly impacted and those who are helping them in their time of need, and the excellent planning that has been done by New South Wales authorities. I spoke to the Premier again this morning following my updates from Emergency Management Australia today, and as difficult as this issue is, people are remaining calm. We need them to continue to follow the instructions that are out there. If it's flooded, forget it. Don't go out for a surf. I say that to people including in my own electorate when I had reports of people going out there yesterday. Don't do it. You're putting not only yourself at risk, but you're putting those who would have to come to your assistance at risk also. And we urge you to follow the instructions of the local authorities on all of these matters. Rainfall is expected to be worse along the south coast, as I said earlier, with isolated falls of 300 millimetres possible. Rain and associated flooding will begin to cover a wider area of central New South Wales. Initial moderate warnings for catchments near Bathurst and Dubbo. At this point, I don't have advice that we're looking at an inland event that was similar to what occurred in North Queensland, which destroyed the North Queensland livestock industry, which has taken us the last 2 years to recover from. But we're watching that very closely. Potential for major flooding in the Murray-Darling Basin catchment is anticipated, and major flooding may continue in the Hawkesbury and the Nepean until Friday due to forecast rainfall, and Western Sydney remains the area of greatest concern. The Warragamba Dam is expected to spill over for another 7 days at least. Telco impact assessments have not been completed in all areas, but several hundred homes have been flooded, roads damaged, livestock and wildlife loss. Telecommunications and power outages across the flooded areas have been reported. Telcos and power companies are standing by to re-establish power and communications. New South Wales have requested assistance for 2 search and rescue helicopters. That has already been activated and from the ADF, and right now they are assisting with evacuations from Colo to RAF Richmond. A request for assistance has also been put in by the New South Wales Government and is currently being assessed and planned for by Defence, which would see somewhere between 500 and 1,000 ADF personnel deployed and engineering support to assist with the clean-up. The Premier and I discussed this morning. I'm expecting a Cat C request to come through today, which will be actioned immediately, and the Premier and I will be working on that clean-up effort. We want this clean-up effort to be done swiftly and effectively to try and get these communities back on their feet as quickly as we possibly can. No lives, thankfully, still to this point have been lost, and we pray that will continue to be the situation. And we still have no persons reported missing as well. So amongst all of this terrible tragedy and the loss that is there, thankfully we have not seen that as yet. Resilience New South Wales is planning for clean-up and early recovery operations when flood waters recede, and I'm advised that 9,000 insurance claims have been received to date and are on standby to start assessments, that is the insurance industry, when they can get access to the flooded areas. Services Australia processed 2,579 claims up till 8 o'clock last night for financial support, and already $3.5 million has gone out the door. There are further.
We'll leave that report there, and of course that is the report from our Prime Minister, and as we know that so many claims for insurances and everything's been happening there as well. Well, a big shout out to beautiful Regina Prasad. Wonderful to have you on the show, and of course as usual Devika, wonderful to have you on the show as well. Always love your support, and all the comments and everything is really appreciated. Well, right now moving on, let's take a look at what's happening right here in Queensland with those floods. So it's water and more water, but another great thing about Queensland is, as the Premier announced, is our mangoes. So let's take a look at that report. So who would have thought that mangoes would reach up to those kind of heights? But it is wonderful to see that there is a growing demand for it as well in here and abroad as well. So it is wonderful to see that the trade and investment Queensland has helped, and that the industry is going ahead in leaps and bounds. So that's wonderful news there. Well, right now let's take a very quick look at what's happening in and around Brisbane, because as we know, lots of functions have started again. So, with that, it is wonderful to see that community organizations and everyone are planning functions and events, and they're all coming together doing that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's about all for today, and it's been wonderful having your company. Well, right now I'm going to leave you with a bonus track, and this is once again by Chandan Das.